Hello, welcome everybody.
Hey everyone.
So, welcome. We appreciate you all being here today. I'm pretty excited about this webinar we're doing. We're going over optimal maintenance planning and scheduling techniques for success. And before we dive into the webinar, let's review a few ways that you all can participate with us during the webinar. Throughout the webinar, if you have any questions, you can type them into the questions feature, which you can see here on the slide. It's a little circle with a question mark in it. That way we can screen questions for the end when we're doing Q&A. We can review all the questions you have. You also can put them in the chat. So if you have random questions that pop up, go ahead and put them in the little chat icon there, and we'll do our best to scroll through and make sure we hit all the questions when we have that Q&A at the end of the webinar. Okay, so for those of you that have been to a webinar of ours before, this is not new for you, but for the rest of you joining us, let's test out using the chat feature. So if you can put in the chat.
They're already starting. They know
where you're joining us from. And then I'm going to give you an extra thing to put in there today. What is the weather like where you're at as well?
That's a good one. Hold on, I'm using two screens here for the first time, so forgive my... Someone said hi to us, and it was at the very beginning of the chat, but everyone's moving so quickly, I don't get to see who it was.
Oh, okay, we got... Oh, yeah, it's fast.
Everybody.
Springfield, Missouri, San Francisco, Chandler,
Ontario,
Arizona.
Texas, 90 and sunny.
Oh, yeah, Cody.
110.
Cody's in Oregon. He's in Grants Pass, which is is not that far from Eugene, where I'm at in Oregon.
Was that Cody?
Cody,
what's up, man? Cody was at Reliable Plant. Good dude.
Oh,
real good dude.
Nice. Let's see, what else? Oh, whoa. London, mild temperature. Nice. In Denver, it's sunny and 80 degrees. That sounds nice. And then someone on here put like hot Atlanta. I'm guessing it's humid there today. I don't know. Oh, Crystal Williams is from Medford, Oregon, which is also, oh yeah, there's some fires going on in Oregon right now. So in the valleys, we're getting a little bit of smoke.
Got El Salvador, India. Saskatchewan is so funny to say. Montreal. All right, we got a bunch.
El Salvador. Okay. Cool. Well, it looks like you guys got the hang of using the chat. So thank you all for being here. It's nice to meet you. So I'm happy to introduce us today. This is my colleague, Brian. He's going to be the main presenter today. Brian, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Brian, head of community partnerships for Upkeep. I've done maintenance in the past. I know a little bit about maintenance, and I love to share it with you all. So that's me. Go ahead, Amissa.
Okay. So I'm the senior marketing manager at Upkeep. I've been with Upkeep for just shy of 2.5 years now. I personally got my CMRP, so I'm a certified maintenance and reliability professional through SMRP. Got that at the end of last year. I will shout out the company called Reliability X. And also Ramesh Jalati, who works for Reliability X, but also has published a book about maintenance and reliability best practices. The reason I call that out is because those courses and that book is what helped me get my certification for the CMRP. Also, earlier in my working career, so before I ever got into like marketing and things like that, I did work as a manufacturing technician in a semiconductor plant. So I was operating the machinery. I was on the operations side. But I do remember, working with the maintenance team when we had downtime events, and that was a big deal when that happened. So I do have a little bit of experience working in operations and with maintenance teams.
Amissa, tell them the book Maintenance and Reliability Best Practices by Ramesh Gulati. Yes. And if you want to take self-paced CMRP training that's led by Ramesh, it's reliabilityx.com. George Williams is an Upkeep ambassador. He's the CEO of that company. Good friend of mine, awesome guy. They are top of the line. So if you want training, they are the ones to talk to for sure.
Yeah. All right. So Brian, you want to talk about the agenda and what we're going to
Sure.
do today?
Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about, optimizing maintenance planning and scheduling. So we're going to talk about a lot of basic stuff, some higher level stuff, but the most important thing is we're going to talk about practical things. I'm not going to bore you with stuff that's regurgitated you hear 1,000 times a day and you hear all these people telling you, right? We're going to talk about things that are the reality of our day to day, and that's what, for just a starter, we're going to talk about why is planning and scheduling important. What are the common planning and scheduling challenges? What is maintenance planning? What is maintenance scheduling? What are some best practices associated with both? And then we'll have some time to do a Q&A after that. So again, a lot of you are going to know a lot of these things, and some of you aren't going to know any of these things, right? And that's okay. The goal here is to expand our understanding of what these things mean and get a different perspective, because each of your operations is unique, and we have to be very opportunistic to understand where we need to be from our maintenance and planning and scheduling. So I will roll on ahead here. So Amissa, go ahead, read our overview.
Okay. So the reason, I guess we'll just talk about maintenance and planning, maintenance scheduling and planning. So just in general, scheduling involves organizing and prioritizing maintenance activities. And usually the goal behind that is to ensure equipment operates efficiently and then that you have minimal downtime, of course. And then by systematically planning and scheduling task organization, the companies can extend asset life, reduce waste in a number of ways, and then improve overall productivity. As far as the importance, you guys probably all know the importance of it, but it's essential for managing the availability and performance of equipment. So proper planning and scheduling can lead to increased uptime, longer equipment life, and higher productivity in general as well.
100%. And the crazy thing about planning and scheduling is it is dollar for dollar, bang for your buck, the most implementable and biggest return for lowest cost in the maintenance and reliability realm. It will return you so much with just 50% effort in its completion. Yet so many people don't do it, and I understand there's a lot of reasons why planning and scheduling is very difficult. Interdepartmental dynamics, business dynamics, manpower constraints, all of those things play a toll in planning and scheduling. But I can assure you that a step towards planning and scheduling will have the biggest return for the amount of input that you provide to that process. So, All right. So what are some common, this is an overview, right? What are some common planning and scheduling challenges? So we all know resource constraints. I don't have enough of this or of that, or I can't get this or that, right? So they always eat into what we're doing. Unforeseen breakdowns. Hey, I want to plan, but I'm stuck. I'm doing reactive work too much. Scheduling conflicts. Hey, I plan to have this machine down, but operations change their schedule and now they're doing X or whatever. Budget constraints. We want to do the right things, but we don't have the money to fund those things. That's a real thing. Resistance to change. This is a huge one. Hey, we want to start doing structured maintenance and not be reactive. Well, I like being a hero. So if I'm doing planned work and I'm not in the spotlight, how am I going to be a hero? Right? And then misaligned priorities. Another huge one. I need to do X because of this outcome, but they need to do Y because of this outcome. When in reality, we should have all the same outcomes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there you go. George saying too much reactive maintenance. Exactly. Unforeseen breakdowns. Just too much, and not enough planning resources to get planning and scheduling done. So go ahead, Amissa.
Yeah, we want to hear from you guys. What is your biggest planning and or scheduling challenge? Type it in the chat. Work, let's see, not being documented, not planned properly with short notice.
Culture. That's a good one.
Culture, yeah. Ultimately, it leads up to that, right?
That's right.
Resistance to change, yes, that's a big one. That's a
huge one. Unreliability of vendors. That's a good one. We'll talk a little bit about that. Production
not enough
schedule.
manpower, not enough time. That's the resource constraints, right?
Emergency of the day. Man, that should be a tattoo for all maintenance people. Emergency of the day. Unforeseen lack of resources. So we've got some visibility issues there with where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Lack of communication, always a problem. I've got some tips for that. Okay. No parts on the shelf.
Not having the parts when you need them to do the work. Yep. That's what we were talking about in our webinar last month.
It's tough. That's tough. Lead times on parts. Yeah, a lot of people are experiencing that, James. A lot of people. Not enough manpower, right, to set up a schedule. Nick, that's a huge one. I talk about that a little bit too. All right. A lot of good ones. You guys clearly understand where your shortcomings are, and that's super important. And it's the first step in understanding how you hurdle and get over those shortcomings. So hopefully you guys can take some nuggets away from this webinar and try to start getting ahead of some of those things. And if you're an Upkeep customer, we have resources that can help you get over those hurdles. So if you're not an Upkeep customer, talk to us and become one. We can help set you on a path to some good adoption and some good availability of your assets through CMMS, through strategy, and through processes. All right. Let's make sure I'm on the right page here. Okay. All right. Let's talk about maintenance planning. Again, high level. We're talking about topics within the maintenance planning realm, and I'll provide insight into each individual one. So what do we have to do first? We have to define our objectives. We should be aiming to maintain the design reliability by ensuring equipment functions as it's intended, right? We want to make sure that if a machine is designed to produce X widgets, that we maintain it producing X widgets at the appropriate cost as long as we possibly can, okay? Regulations, hate to say it, Big Brother is always watching us. We have to be making sure that we are following federal, state, and industry compliance. So if it's oil and gas, if it's food and beverage, you guys probably work in all kinds of crazy environments. And I'm sure someone is telling you how and when things need to be done to comply, right? And then safety. Maintenance activities promote safe work environment. That's plain and simple. Either it's through reducing technicians' involvement with machines, which inherently reduces risk, right? Because maintenance is a inherently dangerous thing, or by maintaining machines to their design standard. They're less likely to break, cause ancillary failures with other machines, operator errors or operator failures, and danger and all those other things. And then we want to know what's cost effective. How do we balance maintenance costs with productivity gains? If we're doing 1,000 PMs a week, but we're still having a ton of breakdowns, we're not finding any failures, well, we need to be relooking at the way we create our PMs, right? Okay. First thing, asset inventory. We need to know what we have, right? When we're planning work, what do we have? How do we talk about our assets? What is the nomenclature? What are the departmental or business understandings of what our things are, the things that make us money, that produce for us? So we want to have asset identification. They can be unique IDs. They could be serial numbers. They could be machine 1, machine 2, red, blue, black. It doesn't matter. As long as that identification is in alignment with your business and the way you conduct work. Don't let someone tell you have to name something a certain way. You do not. Specifications. Now, it is always recommended within that asset data, you have specifications, technical details about the equipment, the manufacturer, the manufacturing information, the bill of materials, maybe parts breakdowns, maybe technical service bulletins that pertain to that machine or updates, right? So all those things are kept with your asset. And then we have location. Are we talking about the physical location within a facility? Are we talking about geographically? Maybe you guys are managing multiple mine sites and you have equipment at different mine sites, right? There is a ISO standard for like identifying assets, and I forget, it's like 14 something. Someone will correct me. But it does show how you can do the hierarchy, if you will, of all of these things. There it is, Cody. I knew it was going to be you. 14224. I had the first 2 letters right. Good man. So anybody looking, check out ISO 14224. It's a good standard, a good start for building out your hierarchy. Hey, he's got me. I know you do. Cody will be an Upkeep customer at some point. We'll get him one of these days. We'll get him. Requirements, right? We want to recommend maintenance. What are the maintenance intervals, right? What are the activities? What's the strategy behind doing the work? And of course, if you can assign your spare parts list per asset, that's beneficial as well. All right. Your preventive maintenance plan. Huge, right? It's what are we doing on a schedule basis? What are we doing? How are we defining? What is it? Why do we do the work that we schedule and that we like? There's a reason behind these things, and how do we get ahead of it, right? So we want to have task lists within our PM procedures. Task lists are detailed steps for each maintenance task. These are directed or should be directed at a defined failure mode or mechanism. They should be complete and repeatable to reduce variability. The way I like to put this is if a new guy walks on the plant floor and he has somewhat of a general understanding of maintenance, turning the wrenches, doing the work, you should be able to hand him a task list and him relatively understand the task at hand and how to achieve them and know what is right and what is wrong and what right looks like and what wrong looks like. And of course, we want to reduce variability. There's more rework from humans touching machines than anything else. Keep that in mind. We want to know the frequency. What do we want to base it on? Do we want to base it on manufacturer's guidelines? I normally don't. Do we want to base it on compliance and historical data? Or do we want to base it on the operating context to include age, environment, and operating capacity? So essentially understanding the machine in ways that allow us to dictate how often we should be looking at machines and changing things out. Manufacturer guidelines, and I'm sure a lot of you know this, are either way overboard or way underboard. So Nick asked the question, there's a difference. Is there a difference between task lists and checklists? Theoretically, no, you can call them either way. We say task lists are the things you're actually going to do and perform the work. Checklist is more like, are the tires at 10 PSI? Yes, no, right? Task would be inflate tires to 75 PSI and verify A, B, and C. So I hope that helps. You can use them interchangeably. We kind of separate them by that. And then your checklist, right? Ensure all steps are complete and documented, no missteps. Okay. All right. You guys know me. I don't like the word predictive, but it is a real thing. We want to use condition-based maintenance, right, to drive the way we plan. Because if we're able to monitor assets based on their condition, we're able to better plan ahead. We're able to understand failure mechanisms before they become a problem, right? So if you're monitoring you're monitoring the oil analysis in a gearbox, and you start to see the iron content, Fe, start going up on your samples, you start to know, hey, I've got hard parts wearing. That's going to be a catastrophic failure at some point. I should probably bump that up in my planning phase. Or, hey, I need to add this or take away X, right? James Lamont, that's a good way of explaining it. Task list identifies what to do. Checklist is verifying when it was done, right? Or if it's a minor, something very simple, yes or no answer as far as a task is concerned. But anyway, condition monitoring is vibration, oil, thermography, motion amplification. ESA is electrical signature analysis. If you guys know Dr. Howard Penrose, he's an Upkeep ambassador. He is the absolute legend when it comes to ESA. So check him out. Uncovering potential risks and taking proactive or action proactively before failures before you lose your performance, right? And then we talk about using data, right? We want to use historical data to estimate future failures. Again, huge with planning. If you have outages, if you have scheduled outages throughout the year, you're able to then plan ahead. This data can also be can be used to understand operational characteristics and the needs for capital improvements. So leveraging that data in real time helps make good decisions. And then we have the intervention threshold. Define what maintenance should be performed based on the condition. That's super huge. Instead of just doing maintenance to do maintenance, we do maintenance because it's telling us it needs to be done and what needs to be done. And I always like to say condition-based maintenance can drive your planned maintenance activities, right? You leverage what needs to be done and start modifying your scheduled work in accordance with it. so that you can stay ahead of things, right? You're leveraging that technology. A work order system, huge. We're Upkeep. That's what we do. We're a work order management system at CMMS. There's a million of them out there, but it's absolutely essential to have a work order management system when it comes to planning. Same with scheduling. We're talking about planning right now. So we want to create work orders for all maintenance tasks. There's a common saying, we speak in work orders, right? You want something done, got to put a request in, got to create a work order. I'm not just doing work to do work. We want to balance the appropriate workload. It's difficult to understand the available man hours in a day versus the needed man hours to perform a task on a spreadsheet. We can leverage those things within our CMMS. Tracking, we want to monitor the status of work. If I put in a work request and I'm a operations supervisor and I want to know what happened, did someone receive it? Was it completed? Is it started? Is it done? All of those things can be done through Upkeep in real time. And then, of course, the very definition of a CMMS, and I guess I would say the reason it was ever made, right, is that historical record of all maintenance activities. We can go back, we can revisit, we can understand, and we can start to do the right things in defect elimination, changing design, helping train our technicians, and guide the way in which we maintain our machines. And ultimately, all of those things are going to dictate how profitable our business is, because maintenance and reliability is a revenue contributor, right? Mm-hmm. All right. Resource allocation. This is huge and arguably missed very often. Ensure the availability of necessary resources. You have to know how much skilled labor you have or support staff. Are you using contractors? Do they have the availability? Is it outside? Is thunder, rain? Is the weather going to impact your resource allocation? And I like to say this, we must take into account the required maintenance time and the available man hours per planning cycle. If you have 1,000 hours of PMs in a month, but you've got 400 hours of man hours in a month, that doesn't make sense. You will always be behind unless your goal is to be building out a large backlog, which it probably shouldn't be that big. It's generally like 5 to 10%, maybe 15% of your overall work orders, but take that into account, right? And then we want to make sure we have the right tools and equipment on hand. Now, of course, we want to make sure we have adequate inventory of critical spare parts. So if there's relationships that you need to build within your organization, maybe procurement, maybe the storeroom, maybe the shipping loading area, right? Build those relationships so that you have a more stable environment when it comes to resource allocation. Okay. All right. Maintenance scheduling. Okay. Well, number one thing, how do we prioritize the work? What's important? Each individual one of your businesses is going to have priorities, right? There's going to be right now priorities. There's going to be long-term goals. There's going to be short-term goals. There's going to be the operational change where the priority changes. And we need to know the urgency. We need to know how soon or late can this work be done? How does it need to be done? When does it need to be done? And it's super important to understand those. So we recommend having a criticality basis within your work order system, right? This work is urgent. This is moderate. This is not urgent, right? This can go into backlog. This can wait. This can't. So keep that in mind. Here's a big one. What is the impact of the work? So what is the effect on production capacity? What's the effect on machine life? What's the effect for the environment, health, and safety of the equipment, the people, anything, or compliance? Again, we talked about compliance earlier. And then here's one that a lot of people don't think about. What is the impact of labor standby costs? If you have a massively productive machine that is in need of work and its downstream effect on manpower, meaning people standing around or not being able to do work, that is a cost. That is a large impact to the business. Machine goes down for 2 hours. Yeah, you might be fixing the machine for 2 hours, but now you have 50 people who are standing by waiting for that machine to be repaired. Keep those things in mind. And of course, resource availability, like we talked about, labor, tools, and parts. If I don't have the parts, I don't have the tools, I don't have the labor, I shouldn't be scheduling the work. Okay, develop a master schedule. I like master schedules because it takes you from the day-to-day, week-to-week, and puts you in the month-to-month, year-to-year. And it's good at really conceptualizing the amount of work that needs to be done, right? So we want to make long-term schedules if we can. And we want to, generally, it's going to be preventive maintenance. It's going to be, or some corrective if you have outages and things. So regularly scheduled tasks and planned outages. I don't know why I put that word in there twice, but planned outages included. So if you guys know that you take an outage every December, well, your master schedule for the year should have milestones in there to get you to that outage, right? Again, going back to the predictive or condition-based maintenance, we can leverage the data that we're getting in real time, understanding and planning for the potential failure through failure mechanisms. They can get us to where we need to be from a master scheduling standpoint. If I've got a certain vibration issue and I consult someone who knows a lot about vibration, they say, hey, yes, this is a certain acceleration, but I think you're good for 2 more months. Well, okay, cool. 2 more months is the outage. We're going to take the risk. We're going to run with it. We're going to do what we need to do. And then, of course, corrective maintenance, repairs based on identified issues. If you're using a CMMS like Upkeep and you're doing preventive maintenance, you can tag failed tasks and they will generate a corrective work order that can either go into backlog or be corrected on the spot or be planned for a later date. Ready? That's all based on the urgency and the impact to the business, machine, or environmental health and safety. So keep that in mind. Develop a master schedule. Okay, now we talk about the nitty gritty. Break down the master schedule into manageable daily and weekly tasks. We want to allocate our tasks to specific technicians, generally due to skill sets and availability. And the reason that second thing says vacation schedules, because you will not believe how much work gets scheduled when people don't know that those people won't even be here. So if you guys in your organization have a master vacation schedule, maybe you guys put it on a Google Calendar or whatever, right? Make sure the planner or the scheduler or both, everybody has visibility into that so that you guys can make the right choices at the right time. And then, of course, we want to have daily, weekly schedules because we want to manage our time. Hey, you say, look, William said, happens all the time. I got this beautiful schedule created. And then I dole out the work for the prior weeks. Oh, that guy's not going to be here. Now I have to change my schedule. So we want to ensure tasks are scheduled efficiently, of course, right? So when we break down these schedules, it allows us to be a little more macro or micro into what we're looking at, and we can make adjustments in real time to ensure that we're optimizing our resources. That's what planning and scheduling is all about, optimizing our resources. All right, plan for downtime. Schedule maintenance during planned downtime or peak hours. So we were talking about outages leading up to this. If you can leverage the data that you have, try to get work done during planned downtime. That makes so much sense. I know, but often people don't get there, and I understand. Or if you guys have peak hours. I don't know. I've never worked with businesses that have peak hours. Most of the businesses I worked with were 24 hours a day, run and gun, no matter what. But if there are peak hours, like maybe you guys do snow removal and you guys in the summertime, you guys do minor stuff. Well, schedule some maintenance then, right? Depending on the urgency, the criticality, and how it's going to affect the business, we can do those things. And of course, we want to coordinate, communicate with production to align those schedules. And we want to have a backup plan. Have a contingency plan in case of unexpected delays. And this is where I go on my opportunistic rant. I put that there, be opportunistic. If a machine breaks down or you have a schedule, it doesn't matter. When a machine is not operating, it is so important to look at the availability of other machines that may be downstream from that machine that are also down. Opportunity in maintenance is huge. If a machine is down, you're doing planned work on it or unplanned work on it, and it's going to be a decent amount of time to get it done, and you know you have other things maybe in backlog or that are urgent, or if you get them and you complete them ahead of time, it's going to help you, do it. Meaning, be opportunistic. Juggle the schedule around, hey, I know you're supposed to do X today, but this machine is down. While that machine's being repaired, we're going to go work on X and get ahead of that machine, right? Of course, use your best judgment because you don't want to induce any failures or create any more downtime if something doesn't go the way you want it. That's why we're planning and scheduling. Use Gantt charts. I don't use Gantt charts in my day-to-day maintenance activities, but for outages, when I'm managing contractors or I'm managing facilities work, or maybe I'm managing the maintenance and repair side of things, and I have a facilities manager that's doing the facilities, So if people are going to be on top of each other or work has to be done before other work, leverage a Gantt chart, right? It creates good timelines. It shows a relationship between the tasks, and then it's really good for tracking. But as far as day-to-day maintenance, I don't use a Gantt chart, but for big projects, outages, multi-craft, multi-departments, Gantt charts are very beneficial in visualizing the workload. So it's a good thing when you're leveraging it in those capacities. Monitor and adjust. We would not be maintenance professionals if we're not constantly trying to critique, optimize, and understand where we are in our department. Well, I'm getting there, Sonny. I'm getting there. Sonny's way ahead of us. So we want to continuously monitor progress our maintenance tasks. We want to, have real-time updates in our CMMS, get real-time updates. Have work been closed? Has work been completed? Is it on hold? Have parts been pulled from the storeroom? Has the machine been put out of service? Right? We have to be flexible. We have to adjust our schedules as needed. Be opportunistic, right? Communicate, do all the right things. And then we want to leverage our feedback loops. We want feedback loops, not just from technicians, but we want feedback loops from operation. If you plan a job and you're doing that work, technician might come back and say, hey, everything went perfectly. The operations supervisor may say, yeah, on his end it did, but on my end it didn't. And why? So it's important that feedback from a maintenance perspective comes from all facets of the business and not just maintenance. Because maintenance, if we're only getting feedback from maintenance, and don't get me wrong, I've been a technician the majority of my life, their input is invaluable, but it becomes a sounding board. We're just talking the same things to each other, right? We want outside input. It's extremely beneficial to our growth. Okay, let's talk about a little bit about best practices. Oh my goodness, Sonny, there you go. Standard operating procedures, SOPs. Okay, I don't like telling people what to do, right? But you really should try to, at least for your preventive work, we should be trying to make standard operating procedures for that work, right? The work that is routinely done, we should have standard operating procedures for those things, SOPs. So consistency, we want to ensure tasks are performed without variability and to a known standard. That goes back to task list, but the known standard is important. What is the standard? What does right look like? And if you're not sure, well, you need to get a team together that does understand what's happening and then all agree upon what right looks like and then develop your SOP. And we aim to have quality as well, right? We want to maintain high standards of work that is repeatable and traceable. Traceable comes back to CMMS. It comes back to who did the work, how did they do the work, what tools were used, what parts were used, all of those things, right? That allows us to make good decisions for the future and continually optimize our process. Training. Everybody knows training is important. Training at each facility is going to be very different depending on what the business goals are, right? But we talk about skill development. That could be a million things. I'm going to say keep updated on latest techniques, but that could mean 1,000 things to you. Safety training is super important. People shouldn't be touching things unless they understand lockout, tagout. They understand pinch points. They understand egress. All of those things, super important. And then my last thing is do not complain if you have not trained your team. If you're upset about things not going the way you would like them to go and you have provided no training to your team, you are the problem. Don't be mad at me. Don't be mad at your CMMS and don't be mad at your technicians. This is just the reality of it. We might know a lot of things, but our team may not. So we have to train them. Super important because it builds proper morale. It helps with adoption of all of the things you want to complete and you want to achieve in your maintenance organization. You got to train them. That's right, Sonny. Visual details are very important. That task list, like in Upkeep, for instance, when you build your task list, you can add pictures, you can circle things, you can draw things, you can do anything you want in there. Communication. This is my favorite one. Okay. Foster open communication between departments. This is the most optimized. Like you can't get any more optimized when you have symbiosis with all your departments. So we want to align maintenance activities with production schedules. We want maintenance leadership must be symbiotic with operations. They should be indistinguishable when it comes to the priorities, to what matters, right? If you are a maintenance manager and you're watching this webinar, go give your operations manager a hug, bury the hatchet, and get to work together, okay? And here's my saying, let go of your ego. It's not about being right. It's about holistic success. Yes, you may be right. And yes, they may be right. But at the end of the day, you both need to win. So whatever it takes for you both to win, that needs to happen. Because when you two win, generally your teams will win, and generally the business will win. And then another non-negotiable, maintenance planners and schedulers need to be in production meetings. Whatever that means to you, that's something that should be at the top of your list. It keeps the maintenance planner and the scheduler abreast of what's happening day to day and week to week and possibly month to month. So it keeps them working in the future week as opposed to working in the current week. And then updates. Provide regular updates on maintenance progress. Tell them before they ask. Everybody loves that. I know your boss does. You go to your boss, hey, machine's going to be done in 20 minutes. Oh, you said it was going to be 3 hours. Up, 20 minutes. If you would have waited 3 hours, he'd have been like, why is the machine not up? Tell them before they ask. Documentation. This is the culmination of all things planning and scheduling. Where do we store our work orders? We need to have a document tasks. We need to know what parts were used. We need to know the labor involved. All of those things. We need to know the history. We need future reference. We need to be able to go back and understand and make changes and and perform defect elimination, maybe change the design of things. And then, of course, compliance. If any of you are in food and beverage, you have your SQF audits, or if you're in pharmaceuticals or oil and gas, I'm sure there's audits that you guys have to comply with. When those auditors come in, they ask you these things, bang, here's all my data. Here's the technician, here's the time, here's the task list, here's the specifications, here's all the things, the dates, to keep you in compliance and to keep your business safe and operating to its capacity as it should be. That's right, Edwin. Data integrity. It's like I said earlier, we speak in work orders. If you didn't write it down, you didn't do it. That's a good point. Continuous improvement, right? We want to review. This all goes back to the historical data that we're capturing within our CMMS. And, KPIs, just don't get caught up on MTBF and MTTR. Those are just general. There's 1,000 you could follow based on what you need, right? But we want to do root cause analysis. We want to go back, identify and address the root cause of failures, bad actors, defect elimination, change design, and so on. I've said this 1,000 times, but it's very, very important. And then, of course, our feedback loop, again, we want to implement changes based on the performance and the feedback we get, not just from maintenance, but from operations, safety, quality. All of those people have a vested interest in the success of maintenance because we maintain their world, right? We might do it to their standard, but we maintain their world. Thank you.
All right, then that's it. Okay.
I think I got good time. We got enough time for
we do.
5 minutes.
We have good. We have enough time for questions, which is always kind of my favorite part of the webinar usually. So take advantage of the time right now, you guys. Any questions you have or any thoughts, anything you want to discuss, type it in the chat there and let's do it. All right, Edwin says, is there a cheat code that can help organizations identify a good failure point when it comes to MTTF? Mean time between failure, or is that a different one? I'm not sure.
Mean time to MTTF, mean time to failure.
Got it. Okay.
Is there a cheat code that can help organizations identify a good failure point when it comes? So when you talk about failure points, I would point you towards the PNF interval. The PNF interval is going to show you visually failure point breakdown and failure modes and where you go from potential failures to functional failures. That's where I would point you, because the uniqueness of your business, I don't know enough to speak on. But if you're talking about the time to failure, I would check out the PNF interval.
This is a really good question because actually until I got CMRP certified, I didn't know that there was a difference between planning and scheduling. But what is the difference between planners and schedulers? Planners
are the what and how. Schedulers are the where and when. Mm-hmm. That's the simplest way to put it.
Mm-hmm. Right. So like in a lot of larger organizations, they have separate roles for maintenance planning and maintenance scheduling. Right. So
most will be both though.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Most companies, like actually it's getting less and less likely that a company has a planner and a scheduler.
Oh, okay.
It seems that way, at least from the customers that I've spoken to and people in general. But normally it's one person. They'll say, "Oh, this is the planner scheduler," so they're planning and scheduling. Super difficult job to do and do right if you're by yourself.
Yeah, right. Okay. Let's see. What else do we got? Let me scroll back through here.
Yeah, Shamika says she's a planner and a scheduler. It's tough.
Yeah.
Get yourself a good CMMS that can help you keep track of all those things, because getting everything allocated. I hope you're not doing parts too, Shamika. Hopefully, you'll do that too.
Mike says, have you ever heard of or integrated with the Track software?
TRAX?
Or it says TRACK. I'm guessing that's the name of the program.
Is that like a telematics software for like mining? Like I used to use Cat Vision Link, but I've never heard of Track. Are you talking about Komatsu Comtrax? I'm not quite sure.
We'll see. Mike.
Linda said, can you repeat the difference again? Planning and scheduling is
planning is
what is what now, and scheduling is where and when. Sorry.
Planning is the okay.
Edwin, I thought TRAX as well, but if it's not that, I'm not sure.
Shamika does not do parts.
That's good.
Cody says, what is best practice for how much work should be planned and scheduled per week?
Okay, if you listen, I get this question a lot. If you listen to the industry, they'll say you have to plan out 100%. 100% of your available man hours need to be planned. The reality is, I say 75 to 80%, because I am such that's why I said I'm such an opportunist when it comes to maintenance and reliability. I really stay in tune with the day to day and course correct wherever I can. That's right, Nicholas. You got unplanned events. There's so many things. 75 to 80% of your man hours should be consumed on a work order, in my opinion. You can plan 100% all you want. That's great. If you hit 80, you're doing wonderful things.
Carrie was asking if they get like some sort of certification for being at this webinar. Unfortunately,
no.
We don't hand out certifications or anything like that. I don't know. Does this count as continuing education maybe towards?
Yeah, this will. If you're CMRP certified, these webinars, I'm pretty sure they count towards continuing education credits for your recertification. If you'd like to get certified, check out Upkeep Certified. Go on Upkeep's website and check out our Upkeep certification process. It's a good one. I know Cody on here, he's got it. There's a lot of good information on there, videos and content and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, that's right. It's a course. Shane says, are CMMS scalable for smaller? Yes, of course. Yeah. We have customers that are one person, just one. And then we have some customers that have 500 licenses at one place. So yes, there is no business too small to manage your maintenance on a CMMS. Shane, that's how would you encourage your leadership to adopt? Ask them if they care about the money they spend on their assets. Jeffrey said, I'm one person. Me too, man.
What was it? Can planning only 80% affect KPIs? In my mind, I'm thinking, well, it depends on what your KPIs are.
Yeah, if your KPIs 80%, then no. Remember, we want to have attainable goals. I say this a lot, like CMMS, maintenance and reliability practices, and the way we measure it should be in alignment with how it's actually being done. So you have to keep those things in alignment. If you're saying, if the KPI is 100% and you only got 80, well, to me, that's good. But maybe to your organization, that's not good. So for me, it would be, if you're consistently hitting 80%, well, maybe make it 85, right? Don't Don't set these. You can set these giant goals, but like, there's going to be things that come up. You're hard pressed to find a organization that is executing 100% of their planned work every single day with no breakdowns, unless their manpower is disproportional to the amount of work that needs to be done. Meaning they can allocate manpower to do planned work only and have standby labor to do reactive work.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we're getting a lot of good questions.
They're moving for me. I can't.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to keep up. How to improve planned maintenance execution compliance?
Keep track of the time on each work order.
I saw one question. Where did it go? Sorry, there's just when it pops up, then it's hard to find them again.
This guy's put in, "Hi guys, please tell me what software are you using for PM and equipment upkeep?"
Oh, here we go. This one.
It.
I found the one I was trying to look at earlier. When a ticket is placed, I'm guessing that means like work order requested or something. Is there a field for approximate time versus actual time?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is. I haven't been. Yeah, there is a estimated time and an actual time. Mm-hmm. Estimated time is what you would put in, like if you're building a service like a PM, and the estimated time to complete the PM is, let's say, 2 hours. And then your technician, when they go to perform the work, when they open their work order, their time starts. And then however long it takes them to actually do the work, that would be your actual time. And then you would know the difference, right?
Mm-hmm. All right.
That's important because that will really help you start to drill down for completion compliance, like one of the other people was asking about. That's why I said pay attention to your man hours. There's a lot that can be derived from how long people are doing, how long it takes people to do work. And you would be, I would venture to say, and I've done this to myself, I've audited my own maintenance departments, and I was like, oh, we're easily at 60% of our man hours, right? And I was way off. It was like 30%. So there was so much time that could be allocated to more work just by people wandering around, going to the bathroom, taking an early lunch, coming back late from lunch. Like there's all these things that can do that.
Mm-hmm. Sunny says wrench time is a complex KPI.
Wrench time is a complex KPI because let's just talk about from a reactive standpoint. If a machine breaks, if you're not using PLC integrations to know machine stoppage, the time starts when either production says it stopped or the technician arrives, right? And then you don't know the delta there is probably big, right? So you go into technician arrives, your wrench time starts. But when the job is complete, the wrench time ends, but that machine might not start for another 30, 40 minutes. So it is complex. It's important to establish with your organization what is defined, how do you define downtime? Because once you establish downtime, you can establish wrench time relatively decent, because that downtime is the whole window, response time is the first part of the window, and wrench time is like the middle to last part of the window.
Yeah. There's a couple things I want to address in the chat here.
Sure.
Like who is supposed to track spare consumption or usage, the planner or the store officer? Like I'm assuming this is talking about parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like
at the end of the day, the maintenance manager or whoever's a senior maintenance person is accountable to the consumption of spare parts, right? So it's his job to ensure they're being allocated to a work order, and that the costing associated, you have the right cycle counts, you have all that stuff, right? Technicians are responsible for allocating parts to work orders. Now, if technicians are able to close work orders without them being reviewed, then it's the technician. But if the work order doesn't get closed by a technician, it gets submitted to a planner or whatever, and they close the work order. Now it's their responsibility to ensure that parts are consumed correctly. Mm-hmm. As far as buying parts, that could vary widely.
Yeah.
Creating a RACI, that's right. Responsibility, accountability, something, consult, and something else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think parts, like storeroom managers, have a little bit of accountability to that, don't they?
Of course. Yeah. No worries. It just depends.
Yeah.
Like, does that person work for the maintenance manager? But if it were me informed, right?
Yeah.
If it were me, I would want to have a strong handle on those things. So I would be working with the store manager constantly to ensure we have alignment, because at the end of the day, if those metrics are skewed, it skews my maintenance metrics.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we both have a vested interest in those parts being consumed, replenished, whatever. We both have a vested interest in that being correct.
Yeah. One thing I do want to bring up, just because it's something we hear a lot, is using SAP. So Leanne says they use SAP because it captures approximate versus actual time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we do hear a lot of maintenance teams are using SAP. Brian, do you want to talk a little bit about that and just kind of like how sometimes the CMMS can work with SAP?
Yeah. So SAP is a huge EAM, enterprise asset management, or financial. It does everything, right? It's kind of like a carpet bomb, if you will, right? It can do everything, right? But it might not do individual things very well. And from a CMMS standpoint, computerized maintenance management system, software, whatever, they are tailored to managing the maintenance business. While SAP has a maintenance arm or function, again, I don't use SAP, but from what I hear from customers that have less ERP, right? Customers that have left SAP to come to Upkeep, it was because functionality within the specific maintenance system was not as easy to use as they'd like, or to get things changed, it was very costly. Everything was like a kind of a bolt-on. But Upkeep actually does do an integration with SAP. I don't know the extent of that integration, but if you're interested in it, please reach out to Upkeep and we can have that conversation.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and Nick is an actual customer, and he was asking, because we were talking about, who completes the work orders just a moment ago when we were talking about parts. Mm-hmm. It looks like Nick was wondering like how in Upkeep we can probably set that up so that the planner and supervisor closes it rather than being completed by the technissician. I don't know. Do you know that off the top of your head, or do we need to?
It has to do with Cody will probably correct me. I haven't been in there in so long. It has to do with permission. So you can actually set up to where work orders can't be closed until they've been reviewed. Mm-hmm. So it's like access administration. But yes, we can do that.
Yeah, Nick, when you email Brian and I, we'll hook you up with a person that can help you. Give you guidance on setting that up in Upkeep.
Yeah. So like we have product experts that like all they do all day long is work in Upkeep with our customers and with our prospects and all. So they know like, and I don't know if you guys follow us, but every Friday we do product updates. So like I literally can't keep up with all the changes that we make on a week to week basis. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Nick said he sent us an email, so we'll respond to that. Paul says SAP is not user friendly and is very complicated when trying to keep a standard across multiple sites.
Yeah, we hear that. We hear that
a lot. Yeah, a lot.
Because SAP, like I said, it's really good at a lot of things, but maintenance, CMMSs are built for maintenance, right? So it's difficult. And I don't know if SAP has them. I know Maximo does. It has like all these different codes you have to learn, and like, it's just tough. And like Upkeep, you can make it whatever you want it to be, right? That's why I said in the very beginning, we want to enable the way work is done. We don't want to force you into this way of doing things that don't actually translate to the way you actually do them. So that's super important.
And in the chat, you guys, I posted a link so you can like claim a free little gift from us for being at this webinar today. You just click on the link and then you put your shipping address, and then we're going to ship you a free Upkeep gift.
Nice.
Okay. Okay, current customer. Jeffrey's a current customer. I have similar questions about functionality within Upkeep. How do I stay up to date with changes, and to whom can I ask questions? Okay, yeah. So Jeffrey, we probably, if you email us, we can get you in touch with like your customer service manager person, and they can help you straighten all that out or answer any questions you have. So let me put our emails in the chat one more time so you can.
So sorry, someone just asked a good question. Do you think the maintenance manager? Crap! It keeps moving. I can't read it now. Hold on. Someone said, "Do you think the maintenance manager can take?" Guys, stop! Someone's up in there.
Can take on the roles. Okay, there you go.
Of a planner
and scheduler.
So the short answer is yes. It depends on how much work, right? What's the workload? How many technicians? How much work is being scheduled or planned and scheduled on a weekly basis? But agree, Edwin. Like maintenance managers shouldn't be planning, right? Maintenance managers should be guiding the overall vision of the maintenance organization. They should be aligning the way work is done to how the business should be operating and the business goals. So if a maintenance manager is in the weeds of planning day-to-day work, they're not able to pick themselves up and look at the business holistically to start making good decisions on behalf of his team, the other departments, stuff like that, right? Yeah. Leaders need to lead. We need to be connecting. We need to be connecting our people to the business and ensuring our success. You shouldn't be. You can. This is reality of it. You could, no doubt. But when it comes to the grand scheme of being a maintenance manager and what that means to an organization, you should not be.
Yeah, I was going to add on to that. Just like ideal state, maintenance manager would not be doing that. You would have a maintenance planner and scheduler, or those would be two separate roles, really just depending on the business, depending on like what Brian, it's at the size of the business, how many assets you have, how much work you're doing. I mean, so it all really is relative to the individual company. But ideally, a maintenance manager wouldn't be doing that. Technically, can you do that in Upkeep? Yes, you can. And a lot of people are doing it. So
a lot of people are doing it. I did it with eMate because I had a planner. And he was like a planner schedule. This was a while ago, but the workload was so much so that I helped him do it because it just wasn't, we needed like a dedicated planner, dedicated schedule and all that stuff. So it can be done. It's just very tough and it's not, you shouldn't do it. Right. So we got one, can equipment be evaluated based on the amount of maintenance needed to keep it up and running? Of course, the best way to do that is through dollars. We call that replacement asset value, RAV. How much money are you spending on a particular asset, whether it's through spare parts or man hours? How much are you touching that thing? How much does it cost for each technician to touch that thing on an hourly basis? And you build out those numbers. For instance, I'll give you an example. You buy the machine brand new for $100, okay? Its expected life is 10 years, and you're performing $110 of maintenance on it a year. What that means is you should be buying a new machine every year instead of maintaining it. The goal with replacement asset value is to ensure that you are providing the appropriate amount of maintenance at a cost-effective level in relation to the value of the machine, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and also that's a really good segue for me to tell you all that if you look out for our webinar invite for September's webinar, because we're actually going to be talking about maintenance optimization, which includes asset replacement value and some things like that. So we're going to be talking in more detail on that next month. So look out for that invite. We'd love to have you there as well. But we are running up on time.
I'm going to give him one more nugget.
Okay.
Here's one more nugget. Okay, it has to do with planning. I didn't put it in here because it's kind of obscure a bit. But there's a thing called an MRU, maintenance repair unit, and what that is when you're developing a plan for making preventive maintenance, and particularly as it pertains to manpower. How many technicians do I need to manage this amount of work? What you can do is you can take the known defined amount of work needed to maintain the upkeep of an asset in hours, okay? And then you take the available man hours that a person, like say, I'm going to have this technician work 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, right? and you take that relation and you give it an MRU, maintenance repair unit. So a machine that takes 1,000 hours of scheduled maintenance a year would have an MRU, let's just say, of 10, meaning that one MRU is 100 hours. And you correlate to how many man hours can be turned on work orders by a mechanic or a technician in that same time. I know it sounds obscure, but there's a way for you to correlate the amount of work needed on a machine, scheduled work, right, planned work, and how many available man hours are per technician. You can start to do some math and say, if I have this many MRUs of equipment, I need to have this many technicians to accommodate that amount of work. I've been asked that a lot in the past. Like, how do I know how many technicians I need to do the work? That's a way to do it relatively quickly and easily. And it makes sense. It sounds obscure, but it does make sense when you put it down on paper.
All right. Thanks, Brian. So we are 1 minute past time, but we really appreciate you guys joining us. Hopefully you saw that link in this chat and got your free Upkeep gift. Hopefully you also have Brian and I's email, so you can email us any remaining questions that we weren't able to answer. But we really appreciate you all being here, and look out for the invite. Hasn't been sent yet, but will be sent closer to the end of this month for the webinar we're going to be having next month on maintenance optimization. We're going to be talking about different maintenance strategies, such as things that have to do with preventative maintenance and condition-based monitoring and stuff like that. Brian, anything to final goodbyes?
Nope. We greatly appreciate it. Get out there and hug your operations manager.
Yeah. Okay. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, friends. Thank you.